5 men drove to a basketball game. 4 of them were found dead. 1 was never found at all. And the only person who might know what happened in those final weeks walked out of a mountain shelter on a dead man's shoes and vanished. A man was dying of starvation in a room with enough food to last a year. He had been there for 13 weeks. A propane tank connected to the building could have provided heat with a single turn of a valve. He never turned it. There were matches on the shelf, paperback novels that could have burned for hours, heavy forestry clothing hanging on the wall. None of it was touched. He lay on the bed, wrapped in 8 sheets, as if someone had carefully made him comfortable, and then left. He had started the evening at a basketball game. That is all he had planned to do. Go to a basketball game. Come home. He never came home. The man on that bed had a name. Ted Wire. 32 years old, described by everyone who knew him as a gentle giant, deeply routine-oriented. He needed to be in bed at a specific time every night. He had a job. He had a girlfriend. The night before he disappeared, he had asked his mother to wash his new high-top sneakers. He had a basketball tournament the following morning. He was looking forward to it. He never wore them. He was one of 5 men called the boys by their families. Despite being between 24 and 32 years old, it was not meant to diminish them. It was what you call people you love. Jack Madruga was 30, quiet, introverted, a veteran who had served in Germany. Very smart, very kind, and very loving. His family's words: he owned a 1969 Mercury Montego, turquoise and white. He cherished it. He rarely let anyone else drive it. Bill Sterling was 29, deeply religious. He spent hours at the library, reading literature he planned to share with patients in mental hospitals. He wanted to help people. Jackie Hewitt was 24, handicapped from birth, Ted's closest friend. The two were inseparable. And Gary Matthias, 25 years old, a veteran, a musician, had played harmonica in a rock band in high school. Different from the other 4, not intellectually disabled, diagnosed with schizophrenia after drug use while serving in Germany. A violent past. But by 1978, his doctors considered him one of our sterling success cases. He was doing well. He was on medication. He did not have his medication with him the night they disappeared. The 5 had found each other through a local program for adults with disabilities in Yuba County. They played basketball together on a team called the Gateway Gators. If they were not playing, they were watching. Basketball was the center around which their friendship had been built. On February 25th, the morning after the game, the Gators had their first match in a Special Olympics tournament. The prize for the winners, a free week in Los Angeles. Their uniforms were laid out. Ted had asked his mother to wash his sneakers. Gary had reminded his mother not to let him oversleep. They were looking forward to tomorrow. One more detail. A year before this night, Gary Matthias had told a longtime acquaintance about a recurring dream. A dream where he and several other people would disappear. Yuba County Sergeant James Black documented this in a 1978 interview. Nobody knew what to make of it at the time. The evening of February 24th, 1978, Jack Madruga drove his Montego 50 miles north to Chico. They were there to watch UC Davis play. They had made this trip before. They knew the route. They were wearing light jackets, not dressed for the mountains, not dressed for cold. UC Davis won the game. Around 10 o'clock, the five stopped at Bears Market, 3 blocks from the campus. The clerk was trying to close for the night. A large group arriving right at closing annoyed her. They bought pies, candy bars, Pepsis, 1.5 quarts of milk. She was the last confirmed person to see them alive. Witnesses saw them drive south on Route 70, the correct direction home. Then something happened. Their car was found 4 days later on a remote mountain road in the Plumas National Forest, 70 miles from Chico, more than 40 miles in the wrong direction. The snack wrappers from Bears Market were inside. The basketball programs were inside. A neatly folded road map of California. A 1/4 tank of gas. 1 window rolled down. No signs of a struggle. No mechanical failure. The car could have been pushed out of the snowpack. 5 men could easily have done it. They did not. Jack Madruga's parents said he did not like cold weather and had never been up into the mountains. Bill Sterling's father had once taken his son to that area. The younger man had not enjoyed it. He stayed home on every subsequent trip. They had no reason to be there. Not one. A Forest Service ranger had seen the Montego on February 25th. He did not think it significant. Many skiers used that road on winter weekends. After reading the missing persons bulletin, he recognized it. He led deputies to it on February 28th. A car in working order. Evidence the men had been inside it after the game. Keys missing. Doors unlocked. 1 window open. Why was the window open? Nobody has ever answered that. The families offered a reward. Some turned to psychics. One family hired someone who searched with a divining rod. Nothing. The undersheriff of Yuba County, Jack Beecham, told reporters, "This case is bizarre as hell." Jack Madruga had driven this route before, more than once. He knew the way home. The car was in working order. The keys were gone. 1 window was down. And nobody in 47 years has explained why 5 men did not simply push it out of the snow and drive home. A man named Joseph Shones came forward after the car was found. He said he had been on that same road the night of February 24th, checking whether conditions were safe for a family weekend trip. His Volkswagen became stuck about 50 yards from where the Montego was later found. He got out to push his car and suffered a heart attack. A doctor confirmed it later. From inside his car, he saw flashlight beams in the darkness. He heard voices, men talking, laughing. He got out and called for help. Twice. The voices stopped. The lights went out. No one responded. If Shones genuinely saw the 5 men, and ignoring a man calling out in distress was completely out of character for all of them, then something or someone was directing them to stay silent. Ted Wyer's mother later said her son would never have ignored someone asking for help. The honest assessment of Shones, locally known as unreliable, suffering a heart attack during the encounter. Some details shifted between tellings. Investigators included his account in the official case file. They could not confirm it. They could not dismiss it. Search teams went in on foot, on snow machines, and by helicopter. Winter storms shut the aerial search down within days. A store worker in Brownsville, 30 miles from the car, came forward on March 3rd. She said 4 of the men had stopped at her store. The morning after the disappearance, arriving in a red pickup truck, the store owner corroborated her account. If accurate, 4 of the men were alive the next morning and had access to a vehicle that was not the Montego, whose vehicle never established. 5 months passed. The families waited. We definitely feel something has happened, but we also feel they are alive. 5 months passed. Then the snow on the mountain began to melt. And what searchers found inside a Forest Service shelter, 19.4 miles from the abandoned car, is the part of this case that has never made sense to anyone who has studied it. What motorcyclists found on June 4th is one of the most disturbing scenes in any American cold case, not because of violence, because of what was not done. Motorcyclists riding trails in the Plumas National Forest came across a U.S. Forest Service shelter at Rogers Cow Camp, 19.4 miles from where the Montego had been found. The front window was broken. When they opened the door, they were overcome by the smell of decay. Ted Wire was on the bed, wrapped in 8 sheets, neatly, as if someone had arranged him. He had lost nearly 100 pounds from his 200-pound frame. His feet were frostbitten to the point of gangrene. His beard growth indicated he had been alive for approximately 13 weeks after the disappearance. Cause of death: starvation and hypothermia. On the table beside him, his wallet with cash inside, his nickel ring engraved with Ted, his gold necklace, a partially melted candle, and a gold Waltham watch, missing its crystal. His family confirmed it did not belong to any of the 5 men. Nobody has ever identified whose watch it was. His shoes were missing. Gary Mathias's shoes were inside. In an outside shed, a locker containing enough food to feed all 5 men for a year. Untouched. A propane tank requiring only 1 turn of a valve to provide heat and cooking fuel. Untouched. Matches, paperback novels, wooden furniture, heavy forestry clothing on the wall. All of it. Untouched. All they had to do was turn that gas on, said Yuba County Lieutenant Lance Ayers. 36 C ration cans had been opened, with what investigators believed was a military P-38 can opener. Only someone with Army experience would know how to use one. Both Madruga and Mathias had served. This tells us Mathias was in that shelter with Wire at some point, possibly for weeks. The next day, searchers found the remains of Jack Madruga and Bill Sterling, 11 miles from the car, on opposite sides of the road. Jack Madruga's right hand was curled around his watch. The Montego's keys were in his jacket pocket. Jackie Hewitt's shoes and spine were found 2 miles from the shelter. His skull was 100 yards away. Gary Mathias was never found. His shoes were in the shelter. His body was not. Investigators believe he took Wire's shoes because his own feet were frostbitten, and Wire's leather shoes fit better. That is an assumption. No one can confirm it. He did not have his schizophrenia medication, required multiple times daily. Without it, he would likely have begun to decompensate within days. He had no wallet, no identification. His niece, Tammy, wrote this: "I believe he had to watch all of his friends die before he left on foot to find his own confused mind a way out. He would have contacted one of us if he had been alive himself. It's been 42 years, and my tears keep flowing like it was yesterday." Of all 5 men, Mathias was the natural leader, the strongest personality, the one the others followed. If the group went somewhere, they had no reason to go. And they did. Then, Mathias is the most likely explanation for why they went there. Whether from a schizophrenic episode, from coercion by someone else, or from a reason nobody has identified. That answer left the forest on a dead man's shoes and has never come back. Here is what can be confirmed. 5 men left a basketball game, drove in the wrong direction for at least 40 miles, abandoned a working car, walked approximately 20 miles through deep snow in light jackets. 4 of them died. 1 has never been found. The leading explanation: a wrong turn in low visibility, disorientation in unfamiliar terrain, the car stuck in snow, a decision to walk, following snowcat tracks toward the shelter. Plausible, requires no foul play. What it struggles to explain: Jack Madruga had driven this route before, more than once, 40 miles in the wrong direction before anyone noticed, strains the explanation. And the shelter. One man spent 13 weeks in a room with enough resources to survive, eating almost nothing, using almost nothing, and died. Wyer's family told police he lacked common sense in emergencies. They cited a specific incident where he had stayed in bed, while the ceiling above him was on fire, so afraid he would be late for work if he got up. Not mystery, not foul play. A man who did not know how to respond to a survival situation, because nothing in his life had equipped him for one. After 4 years of research, author Tony Wright concluded, "We lack concrete evidence. Mostly it's circumstantial, town talk, rumors. This case is a journey into madness." Dallas Wyer Jr. describes his 12th birthday as just a house full of sad people. 5 days before that birthday, his Uncle Ted had gone to a basketball game and not come home. Dallas turned 80 years old in 2024. He says he still has faith the case can be solved. He does not know if he will be alive to see it happen. Unless somebody comes forward and tells what happened, that's the only way. Maybe with time, people get closer to their own mortality and feel compelled to confess something they did. His brother Perry said, "I don't know if I can have any closure. I don't know what would solve it." Gary's sister Sharon died by suicide in 2002. The case claimed more than the 5 men who were lost in the forest. The Yuba County Five is still an active case. Gary Mathias is still listed as an endangered missing person. Nothing about this case has been officially resolved. 47 years. 5 men who had built a small good life around each other, around basketball, around showing up. Drove to a game on a Friday night in February and ended up on a mountain none of them had reason to be on. One of them sat in a shelter with enough resources to survive for months and used almost none of them. And the only other person almost certainly in that shelter, the only one who might know what happened in those final weeks, walked out on a dead man's shoes into the forest and was never seen again. Somewhere between leaving Bears Market at 10 o'clock on a Friday night and arriving on a mountain none of them had reason to be on, something happened. And no one who was there has ever told anyone what it was. Their uniforms were laid out. Ted had asked his mother to wash his sneakers. Gary had reminded his mother not to let him oversleep. They only went to a basketball game. They deserved to come home. If this story deserves to be heard, share this video. Dark Matter. Stories. New episodes every week, where reality gets darker.